Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me today for this episode. I am super excited about it. It is my favorite. It is about building generational wealth. Okay, so just a brief introduction. I'm going to try to be fairly quick with this one, but I do want to go over everything so that you guys understand it. If you have any questions, of course, call me. My name is Melissa. My direct number, you can call or text 754-444-1957, or you can also write down some questions. You can email me at melissa@faithfinancialllc.com. Okay, so let's go into this. Well, let me give you a brief introduction. First, my first career was law enforcement. I retired from that, and when I retired, like most jobs actually don't allow you to carry your benefits over. Law enforcement did. So I was able to take some life insurance with me. However, the life insurance that I had was not enough to cover the needs for my family. So I immediately looked and said, you know what, this is not enough. How do I build my own future? I appreciate what my job had done, but I needed to do more. Okay. So I looked at getting a life insurance policy. Now, I want you guys to know, most jobs do not let you take your benefits when you leave. You leave, retire, whatever, all those benefits are gone. And usually that's why at about the age of 65, which is retirement age, people are then looking for life insurance, okay? My thing is, don't wait till then. Do it now, do it as early as possible, and you be in control, you be in the driver's seat. Okay, so of course, I didn't know that back then, so that's why I share this information now. So once I retired and I said, I need more, I need to build my foundation, I actually got into financial services because I needed to create something that worked for me. And then once I was able to do that, I wanted to share it with everybody. So that's why I do what I do. Okay, so hopefully this is going to be a plus. You guys are going to get something from it. But without further ado, I'm going to jump into this segment. This is about building generational wealth. Now, many of our, some of our, how do I say it? I want to be politically correct. Some people have been born into this information. They know this, they've used it, and it's worked for them. And we wonder why there's a wealth gap, okay? Because some of us have not had the luxury to know about these financial vehicles, okay? So I would say when my mom passed away, she had a life insurance policy nowhere near as great as this. But what she had was something that when she passed away, it paid for the funeral. That's it. Paid for the funeral. So all of the bills that were accumulated while she was ill for 7 months, I took off from work, so I'm staying with her. She had a mortgage that would not have been paid because she couldn't work. I had a mortgage that wasn't going to get paid because I'd stopped working to care for her. So her plan did nothing for us until she died. So you're talking about months without bills getting paid. The plan that we're going to look at today has something called living benefits. If you're not sure what that is, stay tuned. But in the short version, living benefits means that if you become ill, a serious illness, that plan will pay you thousands of dollars usually, okay, depending on how much your coverage is, but it will pay you thousands of dollars. So you can recover from stroke, you can recover from whatever illness it might be. Okay, but you can still pay your monthly bills without having to be homeless, without having to move in with your daughter-in-law, mother-in-law, whoever it might be. This plan can protect you alive and leave a legacy for when you pass away. Okay, so let's jump into this. First, well, that was the first slide. Let's go to the second slide. Okay, so what is generational wealth? All right. So I have a few questions here. I've also written down some answers over here, but generational wealth, basically, what are we leaving for our family? Okay, this is where you actually have to have a vision. You can't just live paycheck to paycheck and say, okay, this month the bills are paid for this month. Now we go to the next month. Yes, we need to do that, but we also need to have a vision. So that's where this is going to come in. So first question, why do so many families start over each generation while others do not? Very good question. For lack of vision. The Bible says, for lack of vision, my people shall perish. People, let's have a vision, okay? Stick with me. We'll work through this together. Next question. So how do you create generational wealth and still live comfortable, still live a comfortable life? So you look at your finances, you look at what you have, and you pay yourself first, okay? We can make time for, we can make money for a cell phone. God forbid, this is my cell phone. If, like, I live by this, this is not a necessity. Having a phone is not a necessity, guys. If they tell me the bill is $30, I'm paying $30. If it's $100, I'm paying $100. 99% of us probably have a cell phone. So if the light bill goes up, guess what? We make money, we make a space in our budget to accommodate that. So this is so important because eventually that cell phone, it does nothing for your future. But a life insurance policy that you can personalize, that can build a legacy and generational wealth, mind-blowing, okay? So that's how we do it. We look at our budget and we pay ourselves first, okay? How do you give your kids and grandkids a head start which will impact the future generation? Again, with a personalized plan, okay? Now, how do you build a family legacy? You can do it in a few ways. I put over here, I put, you can leave a legacy by your values. Like, what values have I raised my children with? What good deeds or volunteer work have I done? That's all part of your legacy. What do I do at church? Am I very involved with my church? That's building a legacy. But a lot of these things, it could be starting a business. That's a legacy. But a lot of these things that we do take money to support the foundation or to support the actual activity, like the business that we're doing. So how do you get that money? Let's keep going, okay? Now, you can make money from your job. Of course, income comes from your job, your 9 to 5, or whatever hours you work, or if you have a business, you make money from your work, okay? You can also have money, you can build wealth by putting savings in a bank, okay? Most banks, if your bank is like mine, I've been with them for probably over 30-something years, maybe more. My bank, and I'm not gonna say the name, but most banks give a very low interest rate. If you put your money in your savings account, I don't even think it's 1%, okay? So that, I would not use a savings account for building wealth. And then again, anytime we put money in the bank, if we just put it in our savings account, guess what happens? Murphy's Law. You all know Murphy. That means that if the tires go flat on the car, guess where we go and get that money from? Right out of the bank account. So how much does that really build up? You can ask yourself that. The other way is we can invest. I like to invest in real estate. So I've always thought that was a huge thing to do. I've done it on and off, and occasionally I do that. I think it is something that it is not going anywhere. People always need land. They always need a home to live in. So real estate is a good way to invest, but you can invest in anything that you choose that you think works good for you. But again, you need money to invest, okay? Starting a business, you can build wealth from that, okay? Now, the other way is if you have just a job, just a certain amount of budget, you don't have a business, you're not a real estate investor, instead of taking that money and putting it into the savings account, now I do recommend having a little emergency cushion in your bank account, but at some point, yes, get a knowledgeable licensed life insurance agent or broker such as myself to personalize a plan for you, a financial vehicle. So that's what I'm going to show you today. We're going to go over how I personalize the plan and how it's going to perform over time. It's going to blow your mind, okay? If you need to grab a pen and paper, like I said, do that and write down some questions. It is going to be amazing. Now, let me move this over here. I think my slides are a little off on this one. So the key components of having this plan, okay? Number one, I would say with any life insurance product, start as young as possible. Few reasons. The younger we are, the lower the rate. Number two, the younger we are, the better our health. Not too many babies come out with a heart attack or stroke or something. So the younger we are, the better our health. Number three, the younger we start the plan, the more time it has to grow massively. Okay, so start as young as possible. We spoke about this a little bit ago. Evaluate your priorities. We all splurge, and I'm not saying don't splurge. Reward yourself. You only have one life to live. Definitely do things that are enjoyable. For me, when I started my plan, what I did was I looked at how often I ate out, okay? As a parent, we would eat out quite a bit. Confessions, but I actually looked at how much I was eating out, how much I was spending at Walmart, and I said, you know what? I need to modify that a little bit. So for what it would cost me, now granted, I got my plan a few years back, but what it cost me to eat out a nice restaurant, let's say for two people, instead of eating out, let's say 4 times a month, I cut it back and I took one time, whatever it would cost me, and I put that into a life insurance policy. That worked out excellent for me. Did it mean that I had to cook at home a little bit more, or maybe cook one time and add a can of beans and stretch it? Like if you're from the old school like me, that's one of the things that we did. But cooking at home a little more often, that freed up my budget a lot more. So I was able to afford a life insurance policy. Okay. I want to ask, can you afford not to have a policy? That's what I asked myself. And honestly, I couldn't. Like I could not afford to wait any longer. Now that I had the knowledge and I saw that my job didn't do as much for me that I wanted it to do, it wasn't a magic cure all. So I had to take matters into my own hands. I saw that I could not afford to not do this. So we went over determine your budget. So you know what your budget is. Sit down, look at your budget, figure it out. Start where you are. Let's say your budget now might be $100 a month. I'm just using hypotheticals, whatever your budget is. Some people do 400, some people do 50, whatever it is. Start where you are. Something is better than nothing, okay? Once you start it, you can always increase it over time, but I will say once you start it, stay committed with it, okay? Doesn't make sense to have something, you pay for it, and then you stop it. Now, basically everything you've paid for is gone. Okay, but there's also something with this plan that if you start, once you start, and I'm not going to say if, because I'm expecting everybody to call, email and it's a free, if you call me, it's a free evaluation, but start it as soon as possible. Okay, and if you call me today, you don't have to pay for it today, but we get everything done. And then you set up whatever day of the month that you want it to start, okay? But I will say stay committed, because this plan will start to grow some money that, God forbid, if the worst thing ever happened and you needed to stop it or you chose to stop it, you would have actually gained a lot in this plan, okay? So those are my key requirements, or not requirements, but my suggestions, okay? All right, next. All right, I knew my slide was going to slip over again, so give me just a moment. Let me just modify this a little bit because I want to make sure I get everything in there, and let me move me over a little bit. Okay, perfect. So guys, I did an illustration. So this was my thinking. This is a hypothetical. This is Tommy. I don't know his real name. I just thought he was super cute. He's probably going off to preschool, having picture day. Maybe it's graduation time for him, but I just thought he was adorable. I thought the fact that he was wearing a little suit kind of like showed me that he had vision. His family saw something for him. And he just looks like a little man right here. I love this picture. So anyway, so I used the hypothetical. So let's say in this scenario, Tommy's mother and father or grandparents have a vision. They want him to have something in the future. They want to build generational wealth. Okay, so they're not going to wait till he's 65 and say, oh, let Tommy figure it out. They're not going to take life month by month. They are going to start now. They're going to pick up the phone, call Melissa, say, Melissa, I'm going to say, yes, hey, how are you? Nice to meet you. And we're going to go over figuring out what works best. Okay, so Tommy's parents, they call me. Biggest things that we need to know: how old is Tommy? Oh, he's 4. Great. Is Tommy fairly healthy? Yes. At 4, pretty much get this plan as early as possible. Most children aren't diagnosed with illnesses by 4. Some are. And so I would say if you want to start when they're 15 days old, we can do it then. Okay. But in my hypothetical, Tommy is 4. So let's say Tommy is 4 years old and he's in preschool. I don't know what preschool costs. Both my daughters are adults now, but when my youngest was in preschool, it was about $125 a week. So let's say that's $500 a month. Okay, so Tommy is about to graduate from preschool. Parents know that we're not going to have that bill anymore, but let's say that $500 bill, take $100 out of it. You can put the whole $500 if you want, but for this example, we're only going to take $100. Okay, now $100 really equates to about a cup of coffee a day. Okay, a cup of coffee for me is about $2, $3. But let's say $3, okay? I don't do Starbucks, those coffees, I can't even pronounce some of them. So, and they're more expensive. So I usually do Dunkin' Donuts, but let's say $3 a day, okay? So for what it would cost me for a cup of coffee a day, instead of going to Dunkin' Donuts every day on my way to work, guess what? I go in my kitchen, make my own coffee, pour the creamer, and guess what? I've just adjusted my budget so that I can afford this plan. Okay, so perfect. I don't even have to wait for Tommy to finish daycare so that that budget is freed up. I made a little adjustment in my everyday living so I could free up $3 a day. Okay. Now, for Tommy, his mom, dad, grandparents, they've decided that they're going to pay their family first. They're going to make the decision that their family, generational wealth, legacy is very important to them, more important than that cup of coffee. Okay, so they're going to set up a strong financial foundation for Tommy. Keep in mind the parents or grandparents, whoever starts it is actually the owner of the policy. So this money goes to them. Okay, now as Tommy gets older, of course, they pass it on to him and they've just transferred generational wealth. Okay, it's as easy as a signature. Okay, now this plan that they're building, by the time Tommy gets to college age, they actually have a decent amount of cash in there that they can use some of it to supplement college. Okay, Tommy looks like he's going to get a full scholarship. He's probably not going to need it. He's going to have excellent grades. But if he did need it, or if grandma just wants to take $500 out of there or $1,000 and give it to Tommy as a graduation gift towards college, it's there, tax-free. Remember that. Now, also, this money can eventually be used for investing. Okay, so let's say at some point Tommy wants to start a business. He can use that money, or grandparents or parents, whoever took out this plan can use the cash that's going to grow in the plan. They can start investing if they choose to. Now, if nobody touches it and you just leave the plan there, let's say by the time Tommy gets ready to retire around 65, Tommy does not have to trust that a job provided him a 401k, no IRA. Tommy doesn't, and a lot of jobs, guys, how many of you guys does your job really provide all of those benefits? Those are being phased out. So Tommy's family is actually building his retirement himself. A lot of times years ago, we thought Social Security was going to be there for us. I speak to so many people who from Social Security they're getting maybe $700, $800 a month. Why not do something now that you can supplement that? Why should your golden years, why should you live less than what you lived while you were working? You're working to live a decent life as you get older. Okay. So again, this plan is amazing. Okay, so next slide. Let me move me out of the way. I'm going to try to squeeze me somewhere. Hopefully I'm not, oh, I'll put me right in the middle. There we go. Perfect. Awesome. All right, so now These are three of the common methods that people use to protect themselves, to build that wealth. I'm going to go over, and this is kind of a little breakdown. Hopefully I've created this chart where it's legible and you can understand it. But we'll start off with number one is traditional life insurance policy. That means kind of like what my mom had. You get a policy, it's for $10, $15, $20, $25,000 of coverage. You say, you know what, this is enough. It's going to bury me when that time comes. Okay. Number two, like we spoke about, you can put money in the bank, you can save money in the bank, but what happens when life happens? When something emergency happens, or even sometimes we just want to buy something, where do we go? We go to that savings and pull that money out. So the savings, I'm not 100% comfortable with savings because I've tried to save. My savings go up and down until it's a whole nightmare. Number three is the plan that we're talking about, building generational wealth. Now we're going to break this down, okay? Let's go back to number one, traditional life insurance. Most people wait until retirement. Oh, I've got coverage with my job. That's great, but I'm not letting my job control my whole life. I want to do it for myself. I want to make sure that I'm covered. Because at the end of the day, as much as I may love my job, they could say, goodbye, Melissa, then I have nothing, right? Okay. So if we wait till we retire, our health is not at its peak. We're older. That means the rates are going to be higher. That means we're going to get less coverage. Okay. So some people, it's a struggle sometimes when I talk to people for them to even get 25,000, okay, of coverage. So your traditional life insurance, that's when people wait till they're older. It's a set amount. That's all they have. The cash in it will grow, but that death benefit normally stays locked in place. Okay. And that's being a little bit conservative. You know, it's good to know that you have something. I write those plans all the time. It's a great plan. If that's what works for you, great. But if we can have a vision and start early, please, 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 you can get so much more. Okay. So your traditional life insurance, I'm going to give you a breakdown. Let's say if we were to be Tommy's parents, okay, and we started with a traditional life insurance policy, we're putting in $100 a month. Remember that. Let's say at 4 years old, Tommy's parents put in $100 a month. By the end of that year, they have $1,200. You know what? Give me 1 second because I might be doing this. We'll go with this one. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. So by the end of the year, the cash that they have in there is going to be zero. But let's say, okay, so for Tommy, remember, for Tommy, he was 4. Remember, with traditional life insurance, people normally wait till they're about 65 when they retire to do it. So let's say at 4 years old, nothing is put in place. At 24 years old, still nothing is put in place. Now, when Tommy retires because his family had no vision, or they had a thought but didn't implement it, now Tommy is 65. He's going to start a plan. For that same $100 a month, guess how much coverage he's going to get? You guessed it, about, and it depends on his health. It could be more, it could be less. Okay, let's just assume that Tommy is still cute, still fairly healthy, might take a few medications by 65, might have put on a little pandemic pounds, but he's going to get on average about 15,000. Okay, the equations that I did would actually give fairly decent health, about 15,300. Now, can he get more? Yes, depends on the person's health, but I just went from, instead of the worst scenario or the best scenario, I went kind of right in the middle, okay? Now, that 15,000 that he has, that amount is going to lock in. It's not going to grow. That's going to be his death benefit. He passes away, it's going to pay out that 15,000. The cash in it, however, will grow. Okay, by the time Tommy gets to be 100 years old, he's still going to have that plan in place. He's been paying for it for what, 35 years? He's still got $15,000, 300. If he passes away, his cash at 100, give me 1 second, guys, let me look. His cash is about $12,733 by the time he's 100. Okay, so that is a traditional life insurance level policy for a fairly average person. Okay, no major health issues, not at excellent top, but kind of average. Okay, now at 65, should we, I know none of us want to consider ourselves average, but at 65, you probably have a little something going on, maybe a little high blood pressure, maybe some diabetes, whatever. But so I just went with average. Okay, now number 2, savings in the bank. Remember, we talked about savings in the bank, putting the savings in. It earns very low interest, and we usually take out of it. That's the first place we go when life's emergency happens. Okay, so let's say savings in the bank sits in orange. In the first year, now from day number 1, you put $100 in, guess what you have? $100. But by the end of those 12 months, you've got $1,200. Yay, we've got more money. This is a long journey, okay? But if you can be consistent, it's worth it. Now, $1,200, how much can that do for you? Not a whole lot, okay? But Tommy's 4, he probably doesn't need a whole lot at 4 years old. So by the time he's 24, he has, let's say, and this is dependent on interest rates, which could fluctuate, but he put his money in the bank, or mom, dad, grandparent put the money in the bank. At age 24, he's got a little over 24,000 because he's gained interest. As long as they didn't touch it, he's gained interest. Okay, so he's got about a little over 24,000, you see there. By age 65, that interest has grown. Tommy has got $73,361. And again, these are just average numbers because we don't know what interest is going to be, but Tommy can retire with a decent little supplement to his income. Can he start a business with that? He can do something. Okay, so I'm not going to I'm not going to disregard that. Savings is good. Okay, that's Tommy at $100 a month. Now, by the time he's 100 years old, he's got a decent amount of money. But remember, this is if he never used this money throughout his life. Okay, he's got $115,453. Again, that's just an average. Okay, now this money, he passes away. And this money is going to continue to grow as long as it's in the bank. So it can live on. If he lives to 110, 120, it's still there for him, okay? It's still going to keep growing. And this is all considering that he never touched this account, okay? That's not me. I'm not Tommy. I would have long dipped into that money. And if I took out a few hundred here, a few hundred there, it's not going to be the 115,000. Okay. But in a hypothetical world, let's say he put it in, he was consistent with putting it in every month. He never touched it. This is where he is. That almost sounds like a fairy tale to me, but I guess there are people out there that can be that disciplined for 100 years. Okay. Now, number 3, and this, I get so excited every time I think about it, but this is the good part. If you take this plan that we're going to discuss and you personalize it to fit your own needs, okay, that means you determine how much money you want to put in, you determine what you want to have in the end, you're going to have so many benefits from this, okay? So let's go over, this is the one in green. Let's say Tommy is 4 years old. Mom and dad now have decided that they are going to invest in this plan. Grandma and grandpa, if they want to, they can do it, but anyone that chooses to. So they start this plan, okay? They invest, he's 4 years old, he's about to finish daycare. They're gonna take that $500 that they were putting in. They can put in the whole amount if they want to, but let's say they only do $100. Okay, $100 a month. Guess what? From day number 1, Tommy gets approved. Guess how much he has? He has, oh, you guys can see it, $159,000. Anything happens to Tommy, that money is going to mom, dad, grandma. They can use that money tax-free. Remember, it's not like our lottery winnings where Uncle Sam is gonna take half of it or more than half. They get that entire amount tax free. They don't have to hide from Uncle Sam. They don't have to keep it under their mattress. They can take it and do whatever they want tax-free. They get that entire amount, okay? Day number one, how much have they put in? $100. How much do they have? $159,000 from day number one, okay? Now, the thing is, Tommy's gonna keep living. So this is not, we're not planning this at 4-year-old. Oh, we need this money to pay off Tommy's death. No, we're building generational wealth, okay? So Tommy's not gonna reap anything from this. Family's not gonna reap anything from this right now because, of course, we don't expect anything drastic. We don't expect Tommy to die, okay? Now, this plan does have a free benefit. It's called terminal illness. It has several benefits, but we'll just touch on the terminal illness. Let's say any time in Tommy's life, my mom at 51 had stage 4 cancer. This plan would have let her take up to 90% of that $159,000. She could have used that money however she wanted to pay her bills, whatever. Anyway, so we've covered Tommy getting the plan. Day number one, he's got $159,000. Let's visit him at age 24, right? Now, this plan has grown. Parents have invested, let's say $100 a month times 20 years. We're at $24,000 that they've invested into this plan. But guess how much it has grown? They have $28,000. Is this worth it? Absolutely. They've already exceeded what they've put into this plan. And guess what? They still have the same $159,000 of coverage. If anything happened to Tommy from day number one on, it's paying out $159,000 to the family, okay? Whoever they list as the beneficiary. If Tommy became ill, it's still paying, giving him up to 90% while he's alive. So it's kind of like a disability plan as well. Amazing, okay? Now, we're at age 24. He's got all this money. Now, the family said, Melissa, I only want to pay this for 20 years because by the time Tommy is finished with college, we want to be done. We don't want to be responsible for him anymore. Of course, as parents, we're always there for our children, but the parents want to say when he's finished with college, he is an independent person. We don't want to keep paying this until he's 100. So they set it for 20 years. They could have said 10 years, but of course they're going to pay more if they want the same value, but they could have said 10 years, they could have said 30 years, they could have said 15 years, whatever they chose. But in Tommy's case, they chose, we want to end it by the time he's finished with college. We'll do it for 20 years, okay? Boom. Now, by age 65, between 4 years old and 65, all this plan is doing is growing cash in this plan. Now, look at age 65. Tommy's getting ready to retire. He hasn't touched the money. Maybe he took out a little bit to aid with college. Maybe grandparents took out a little bit, again, tax-free to give him as a gift. Maybe at some point he took out some to start a business at age 40. He said, you know what, I'm done. I'm retiring. I want to work for myself. Boom, he's got the cash in there. Okay, but let's say he didn't touch it. He used his degree from college. He worked his life. But he said, when I retire, I am going to do more. I'm not going to sit there and just try to figure out how much can I pay every month. Tommy is going to take this money now. At age 65, he retires. Look at what he has in his policy. His policy is no longer $159,000. His policy now, and again, these are hypotheticals. I'm just going based on this scenario. His policy is $359,000. It was some other dollars, but I just kind of rounded it off. $359,000. If Tommy passes away, grandma, grandpa, mom, dad, his children, his wife, whoever is the beneficiary, remember, you can always update your beneficiary. This is $359,000, more than $250,000 going to whoever he designated to go to, okay? Now, also, Tommy has the option now. He's retiring. He's got some wisdom. He says, you know what? I want to go into investing. I want to increase this money. Tommy's got almost $300,000 of cash. I put $300. Sorry, guys. $300,000 of cash. Let's say Tommy takes out $100,000 and says, you know what? I'm going to start a business. in my retirement, I'm going to start an accounting firm. He's going to continue to make money. He's got his Social Security there. He's got money that he could use this money from the policy to supplement what Social Security doesn't give him. He can use it to start a business, whatever Tommy chooses to. But this is the pinnacle of making that choice while you have the wisdom. He didn't have the wisdom at 4 years old. He didn't necessarily have a lot of wisdom at 24, but now that he has it, this is where he's going to maximize what he has. Remember, guys, this policy has just been sitting in the background, building from the time he was 24. Remember, only 20 years, the parents or grandparents paid. After that, they never paid for this again. It just sat in a drawer and it grew and grew and grew and grew. They went back to having coffee, whatever, okay? 359,000, almost 300,000 in cash. Okay, now Tommy can choose whatever he chooses to do with it, but if he just leaves it there and never touches it, never gets the wisdom, never learns to invest, never does anything else with it, it is going to start decreasing because remember, Tommy or no one has been paying for it for 20 years. Normally a policy will endow at age 100. That means reach its fullest potential. Okay, so in this one, it actually reaches its pinnacle, its maximum growth around 65, perfect age. Okay, then around 100, it has decreased because Tommy's not putting any more money into it. So if you see, he lives to 100, he's got 98,000. Now his savings, if he never touched that savings, actually exceeded him. But at 100, what is he really going to start doing? If he was going to do something and maximize this policy, he would have done it somewhere around 65, okay? Or maybe even younger. So as you see over time, it's going to start to decrease. What I would say, and a lot of people won't tell you this, what I would say is around 65, even if Tommy says, you know what, I don't want to start a business, I just want to retire, take that 300,000 of cash and invest it into some kind of mutual fund, something that may be earning more, and just let it keep growing. Okay, remember, he's taking that money out tax-free. Now he's going to put it into something that's not going to decrease. Okay, so for all this time, all he's done is grow. And then at some point, he's going to roll it over into something. Now, all of this time, this plan is here. He's never going to lose more than he put in. This plan is going to keep growing. Amazing plan. Okay, guys, I feel like I need a cup of coffee or some water because I get so excited about talking about how these plans work. Again, people can do anything that they want to, but out of the main things that people do, savings in a bank or traditional life insurance or personalizing a plan like this, I would take this plan all day long. I wish someone had told me about this when my children were small. I would have maximized the heck out of it. Now, I just put a note here, guys. Keep in mind that traditional life insurance and this personalized plan is designed to last until you age 121. Okay, so it's not something that's going to age at 100. I can hear people out there saying, my grandma lived to 108 or 118. It's still there for you. Okay, but again, with the personalized plan, I would say take out this 300,000 and invest it into something and let it keep growing. So that way you don't have to worry about the decrease. Okay, and that's something that I will remind you and go over with you, but excellent plan. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. All right, let's move me where I need to be. I'll be right up here in the sky. Now, the breakdown, I'm going to go over this, I think, pretty quick because I probably discussed it in the last one, but I like to write it out. Okay, so Tommy's parents or grandparents had the foresight to see his future and to build something financially that would grow for them. Okay, now, Tommy's parents, they started the policy when he was 4 years old. They no longer had to pay for daycare, so they used a fraction of that money to fund this plan. Could they use all of it? Because if you're already paying it, let's say you're paying $500 a month, you're not going to miss it. Imagine putting $500 in this plan. Mind blown. Okay. Now, although the premium is flexible, meaning that they don't have to, if it was $100, you don't have to always pay the 100. I would say if you can, stick to that. But if life happens and you need to kind of decrease it for a moment, it's flexible, you can do that. You don't have to totally drop the plan, okay? So in this scenario, they stayed consistent. They paid the premium for the time that they had predetermined. They said only 20 years. Again, it could be 10, 15, 16, 17, 20, 30, whatever they chose. You can pay for 100 years if you'd like, okay? They wanted to do 20 years and out, okay? And again, the reason why, they just wanted to, in their mind, they wanted to pay for it and be done by the time he finished college, okay? Over the 20 years, they invested a total of $24,000. $100 a month equals $24,000. That's about $3 a day. Remember, that's a cup of coffee a day. From the time, now the cash that was in it at the end of those 20 years, remember, was $28,000, okay? So they've already exceeded what they put in. Now from day one, remember, Tommy had the full coverage, $159,000 was his death benefit. With no waiting period. Some of you guys have heard, and I don't want to say the company that Jonathan represents, but it starts with a C, second word starts with a P. Plans like that, there is a 2-year waiting period if the person's health isn't the greatest, okay? So again, that's why I say start while you're young, because there's 9 times out of 10, there's no health issues. Now, you can start this plan from 15 days old. You can have a baby, and the baby turns 15 days old, we can do the plan, okay? That's way better than any gift that you could give at a baby shower, okay? So keep that in mind. You don't have to wait till Tommy is 4, okay? Now, when Tommy retired at 65, his cash had grown to $298,000. I put $300,000, but just rounding it up, but it was $298,976. Remember his death benefit, I put $358,000. It was actually closer to $359,000, okay? That's more than enough to make a substantial impact for his parents, his wife, his children. Remember, whoever is the owner of the policy, whether it's his parents, the grandparents, or if they've transferred it on to Tommy, whoever's the owner could have accessed this cash. Okay, now Tommy used, in this scenario, Tommy used some of this money to start his dream business. He could have supplemented his retirement. He could have deferred some of it. Maybe he set aside $20,000 or $25,000 of it to take care of his final expenses when that time comes. Whatever he's doing, he's building, he has built his family's legacy. Okay. I feel like I'm trying to talk fast. So you guys, I super value everybody's time. So I sometimes do try to talk fast. I feel like my words are stepping on each other, but we're almost finished, guys. There's 10 slides. We're on number 8. So hang in there with me. All right. So the benefits to this plan, there are so many benefits. Unfortunately, I could have put out all of them, but as we do the plan, when you guys call me, remember 754-444-1957, you call me, we're going to see what benefits you want to add in, which ones you don't. Some of them are free. Some of them you may pay a little bit more. Some you may say, you know what, I really like this one. Some you may say, no, I don't really think I need that. Okay, so however we choose to personalize this plan. Now, I just want to go over a few. Remember, the plan has full coverage from day number 1. No 2-year waiting period. It does have the adjustable level premiums. That means that the premium is never going to increase. That means the money that you pay every month, it's never going to increase. It's going to stay level, same amount, so you can budget it out easily. Next thing is the payments can be for a limited number of years. Remember, for Tommy, the parents set it for 20 years. It can be less, it can be more. You can adjust it, okay? No medical exams depending on the person's age. Now, good point here. Remember, I said you can start as young as 15 days old, but if Tommy were an adult, there would be some more health questions. Sometimes if somebody has a health issue, you could be 20, you could be 30, 40, 50 and start this plan. If there are some health issues, there's a possibility somebody may not get approved for this plan. So again, that's why I say start it as young as possible. If you're not approved for this, then still let's do a traditional life insurance policy. Let's still add in some of these great benefits, okay? But Usually for children, there's no medical exams. As we get older, if the underwriter sees something and it's a little flag for them, they may request a medical. They may just go with the health questions and that's it. They have their coverage. This plan also has accidental coverage. Now, how accidental works is, let's say if Tommy has the plan for $159,000 of coverage, they add accidental into it, that means it's going to double. So that would put him at $318,000 if he were to pass away from an accident. Now, there's a whole list of things that could be considered an accident. It doesn't have to be just a car accident. And I will say it doesn't have to be, God forbid, if the person has an accident and they don't pass away at that very moment, they still have, let's say they pass away a few days later. And I want to say, if I remember correctly, it can be up to, I want to say 90 days. Some plans are 90, some plans are 180 days. But keep in mind, not everybody who has an accident passes away immediately. It could be the next day, it could be a week later, it could be, some people have surgery and then they pass away sometime after. So keep in mind, accidental gives some wiggle room, okay? Now, another benefit is a chronic illness benefit. That basically means that if you're unable to do like 2 out of your 6 activities of daily living, that could be walking, bathing, dressing, feeding yourself, things like that. If you're not able to do at least 2 out of 6 of those, you can take money from up to 90% from that death benefit. Let's say it's $159,000, again, 90%. They will pay you while you're alive. So God forbid people have a stroke, they're not able to feed themselves, they're not able to walk, they're not able to bathe themselves, whatever it might be. They can get up to 90%. Let's say they can't work for the next 6 months or the next 2 years. Can 90% of that $159,000, or let's say even if it was $100,000, that would be $90,000 paid to them up front. Can they take that money and pay their monthly bills for the next 6 months, the next 2 years? Absolutely. Now they don't have to be sick and homeless. Sick and homeless is not cute. So keep in mind, some of these benefits that I'm touching on will pay you while you're alive. They're called living benefits. All the ones that I'm talking about here, the terminal illness, the chronic illness, the critical illness, will pay you up to 90% while you're alive, okay? The second one is the critical illness. This one covers things like heart attack, cancer, stroke. Again, it pays up to 90% while you're alive. The terminal illness, I think we went over that, but same thing. If you're diagnosed with a terminal illness and the doctor thinks that you have a life expectancy of 12 months or less, they will allow you to take up to 90% of the policy, okay? So again, in my mom's scenario, she couldn't work anymore because she had stage 4 cancer. She could have taken that money and kept paying her mortgage. And guess what? The bank can't touch it. That would have, and she didn't have to pay it the entire time. She could have paid it and maybe sold it, paid it, rented out, whatever the case may be, but at least you're not down to a 3-month period where the house goes into foreclosure and then the bank takes it, okay? So this would give you access to income when you're not able to work, okay? Now, there's another feature, it's called a waiver of premium. It means that if you're disabled, let's say you can't do those 2 out of 6 activities of daily living and you never regain those, you can have and let's say you plan that you don't want to make the payments only for 20 years. You want to keep the payments lower and pay them over a period of time, let's say 40 years. But in that 40-year period, you become disabled. Guess what? You don't have to make another payment. Done. Okay, so that's another feature you can add in. I did talk about the terminal illness. It will pay you, again, up to 90% while you're alive. Tax-free distribution. If you pass away, this plan pays the entire amount. It's not like the lottery where Uncle Sam takes more than half. They pay out the full amount. Now, for these 3 benefits that I'm talking about, there are fees if you access it while you're alive. There are going to be some fees, but you're still going to get the majority of it. Okay, way better than a lottery. Okay. Last thing, cash and death benefit, it increases over time. We've talked about that in the previous slide. You saw how it was going to grow from whatever the cash benefit was in the beginning, I think by age 24, Tommy had $28,000 of cash, and it actually grew to $300,000. So that cash is going to grow even though you're not making any more payments, okay? Now, there's still more benefits and more features that we can add on to this and personalize it. I can't go over all of them because your mind would be like, ah. So I'm going to stop there, but just know this plan can be personalized. We can do a lot with this, okay? So next, let me just break this one down. I'm going to put me right down here so you guys can see everything. I'll make me a little smaller. Okay, there we go. I'll be right here under the application. I'll be waiting for you to do the application. So how it works, okay? So we've gone over what the plan is, how it operates. What do you need to do? Take the first step, okay? Make a decision to call, look at your budget, think about what you can add, what you can take out, how you can modify your budget a little bit, what you think that you can reasonably and comfortably commit to. Remember, there's going to be a commitment, okay? I don't want you to start this and then have to stop it. So make a decision, pick up the phone, call me. I'll listen to what your needs are. I'm going to make some suggestions, recommendations. We're going to go over how we can personalize this plan to meet your family's needs, okay? Now, next, we're going to do the application. Okay, remember there's no medical exams. So we complete the application. It can be done face-to-face. If you are here in South Florida, I can meet you face-to-face. If not, modern technology, we can actually do this over the phone. I'm licensed all across the nation. So if you're hearing this and you're in South Dakota, call me, different area code, but I can still write the policy for you, okay? So we'll do the application over the phone or in person, whichever you choose. Next, we're gonna get the approval. Remember, the younger you start, if Tommy is 4 or if he's 15 days old, the younger you start, the easier for the underwriters, the better of the chance of getting approved, okay? So once we submit everything, I'll ask a few health questions. Most likely all of them are going to be no, because the person is super young. They're not going to have any high blood pressure, medications, prescriptions, hopefully. And if you do, not an issue, we'll work with it, okay? So we submit the application, underwriters look at it. They may actually approve it within minutes. For Tommy at 4 years old, probably a pretty much instant approval. If there's some things that the underwriters have to look at, it may take a couple of days, okay, but we'll still get that, hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll still get that approval. Now, if my mom with stage 4 cancer had called and said she wanted coverage, sorry, she would not have gotten approved for this. So again, guys, I don't want to harp on it, but I will. Do this plan as early as possible while your health is the best. Don't, if I had $1 for every time somebody told me, oh, I don't need to do it yet, I'm still too young. People are passing away at every age. I've had a cousin who passed away at like 2 days old. My sister passed away as an infant. So people can pass away at any age, okay? We're not doing it for that purpose, but that is a byproduct. It's gonna pay if the person passes away, or when, because they will some point, okay? Hopefully it's somewhere closer to 100, but definitely don't wait to age 65, or don't wait till the person is older to start this policy, okay? Next thing is affordable payments. Now, the initial payment, it can be whatever you say your budget is right now. The most important thing, get this plan started. If your budget is $50, do it with $50, okay? This is not one of those $10 policies. This will not get it. They're not gonna approve it for that. This is for somebody who is looking at building generational wealth. If you want to do a small policy, we have small policies for children. They're amazing. You can do them for as little as probably $3 or $4 a day. If you want that, we can do that. Okay. I would say put something in place, but if you're thinking generational wealth and building a legacy, this is the one for you. And it's way super affordable for what you're going to get. Again, remember, pick what's comfortable for your budget. Do you want to cut out 1 cup of coffee or 2 cups of coffee? Pick whatever works for you, okay? Now, as soon as that payment is cleared, coverage begins. Again, no 2-year waiting period. So you've got coverage in place. Take that policy, put it in a drawer, let your loved ones know where it is, and go on living your life. Okay, while you're living your life and enjoying, and Tommy is growing up, he's graduating from middle school, from high school, from college. This plan is just sitting there growing, growing, growing massively. Okay, now stay consistent with those payments. Remember, we condensed this scenario down to 20 years. Can you stay consistent for 20 years? Yes, I think so. Some people will take money and they'll buy a car for Tommy when he graduates from college. Guess what? That car is not going to grow to $300,000 of cash or a death benefit of $300 and almost $60,000. That car is going to last him maybe 10 years or so. He's going to trade it in and get another one. So put the money into something that is going to be there long term. Okay. All right. So I feel like I'm begging because I want you guys to do this. This is so amazing. Again, I wish I had known about this, but instead of being in financial services when my children were small, I was in law enforcement. But anyway, so now that I know it, I'm sharing it with you guys so that you guys can, take advantage of it. And it's legal, guys. All right. So we are down to the last slide. I told you we were coming to the end. I know I've probably talked my head off, and I'm sorry about that. Hopefully it has truly, truly benefited you. If you have any questions, I hope you've written them down. If not, still call me. We'll go over it. We'll do a scenario just for you. You'll see how it works. We'll do it in black and white so you can see it. And oh my gosh, what I'm going to ask you guys too is, remember, this plan can be done from anyone. Hold on one second. I'm going to tell you the age. I know it's 15 days, but see, I was about to say that you can't do this plan. It can be done from age 15 days old on up to age 85. Okay. Now, if you started at age 85, keep in mind, you got to be in pretty good health to get approved. And your time for it to grow is going to be a lot less. Okay. But you can do it. Okay. So I don't want anyone to think that they can't get this plan. Call me. Let's see if you qualify for it. If you have children, I'm going to beg you, start your children off with this plan because it's going to be super affordable at the youngest age that the person is. Another thing is, if you know of anybody, and we all know somebody who has small children, if you know of people with children, please share this plan with somebody. Tell them, watch it. Tell them, listen, this is life-changing. Tell them to sit down, instead of watching a show for an hour, sit down, watch this, and pick up the phone and call me. I'll take a few minutes of your time and go over, do a free consultation. I will personalize the plan, and you tell me what works for you. But imagine that if in your family, if there's 10 people in your immediate family, and all 10 of them had had a plan like this when they passed away. As they pass away throughout life, whatever age they are, remember they've got the coverage. Imagine if each person that passed away left $159,000. Let's say you take out $20,000 out of that to bury them. You've still got, let's say, $140,000, just for round numbers. Is that not enough to leave to make a huge impact? And imagine as those people pass away, your family legacy and generational wealth is just growing. I hear so many people, they want a policy that just covers the final expenses. Guess who's getting paid? The funeral home, which is great. We want to bury our people in dignity. But imagine if we could do so much more. That's why I say pay yourself first. So anyway, guys, thank you guys so much for watching, for listening. I so appreciate it. Again, you can email me at Melissa, MELISSA @faithfinancialllc.com, or you can call me or text me 754-444-1957. And I think my dog needs to go outside. So I am working in my home office today because it is a Saturday. But anyway, so guys, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. Continued blessings to you, to your family. And guys, let's build generational wealth. Let's break some of these old ways of thinking. Also, last thing before we go, You see there's a QR code on here. If you scan the QR code, it's gonna link you, it's gonna give you my phone number, my picture, my contact information. It's gonna link you to my YouTube so you can see some other videos that I've done. It's gonna take you to my Facebook business page, and also I believe to my Instagram, which has a few little just kind of fun videos if you just have nothing to do, or you, whatever, sitting at the red, no, don't do it while you're driving. But if you have nothing to do and you want to watch a few little cute videos, go to my Instagram as well. And all you do is hold up your camera to the QR code. It's going to produce a little orange button, tap on it, and it'll bring all your information. You can save it right on your phone. All right, guys, thank you again. Have a wonderful day, and I look forward to hearing from you guys. Call me or text me. Take care.